Welcome back to the main deck. I'm your host, Joe. I'm the executive producer at CruiseNews.com here with my buddy Harrison, who is the managing editor at Cruise News. What's going on, Harry?
Hey, Joe.
How
Hey,
you doing
Joe.
today?
How are you? Happy cruise day. It's always a happy cruise day for a lot of people today,
Well,
isn't it?
geez, you got me excited. I wish I was going on a cruise. You said that. I was like, wait, I'm not going on a
Right?
cruise. Not till
I think
June.
maybe that's how maybe that's something. Well, hopefully we're going to try to get you on a little earlier before that, but it's always a good thing, right? Didn't that just give you a little endorphin kick in the back, like cruise day?
It
Hey,
did.
what?
I made me feel like I'm like, wait, I should be in an airport somewhere going to Miami or somewhere.
Right, right. Wow. Well, Joe, I mean, this is our third podcast, and I'm really enjoying this. And I'm really hoping that our viewers, listeners, are also enjoying some of the topics we have. And let me ask you this, Joe: is there any way for our listeners or viewers to submit questions?
Actually,
Personally, I mean,
yeah.
right?
No, that's a good question. Actually, so I try to promote because we're new and up and coming, I'd say, in regards
Hmm.
to our growth and social media and stuff. I would say the best place would probably be anywhere on social media. Definitely follow all of our channels on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're all over the place. And if you ever have a question, I'm scouring on those channels all the time. So are you, Harry, but I'm on it all the time. And yeah, if you
Right,
leave a question on Instagram, for example, on one of our photos, or you just want to DM us, I'm always looking at those accounts. So yeah, if you have any questions, and actually you want
right.
to get your question answered on the
Yeah,
podcast, just let us know in the comment, and we'll answer it on the podcast.
right. I mean, between the two of us, we've got more than 60 years of cruising experience. So follow us or submit your questions over on Instagram, Cruise News One, on X, Cruise News X. We're also on YouTube. It's Cruise News One also. And maybe one day we'll turn on the comment section on the site, and
Yeah,
you don't have
right.
to go to social media.
That wouldn't be a bad idea. I was always wondering if people actually would be leaving comments. I wouldn't be worth. I just like to speed up the website as much as possible, and sometimes comments can hinder that. So, but yeah, that wouldn't be a bad
Ah,
idea to consider that. Maybe adding on like
right.
there's a really cool system called Discuss, and I'll look into that.
Super. Well, Joe, I mean, today it's April. It's mid-April, and we're getting ready for the Alaska cruise season.
One of my favorites.
Alaska has, right? It has there's about 3 to 4 months of this season. And I took a look on this, and this year there will be about 50 different ships cruising Alaskan waters. That's up from approximately 45 last year.
Jeez.
Yeah, right?
Hmm.
And heck, the destination is amazing. I've been there once. I know you have been there at least once.
Hmm.
Um, what do you think? I mean, where did you go, and aboard whom? This is almost like a red carpet thing. Who did you cruise on?
So my first ever was on Celebrity. And that was a good experience. I've done Celebrity previously in the Caribbean, so it was nice to kind of experience it in Alaska because it's a different, you go from warm weather to nice weather, but usually a little chilly. And then my most recent was in 2024, and that was on Holland America on the Koningsdam. And that was the one I most recently did, and did the White Pass Summit excursion out of Skagway.
Right?
So that was really cool. Highly recommend.
Well, for those who are planning to go on an Alaska cruise this coming summer,
Hmm.
should they consider this White Pass excursion?
Yeah.
And why was it? I saw a picture that you posted
Yeah.
from a train.
Mhm.
Trains are my first love. Ships are my second. Tell me more about this because I want to know about this train.
So to be honest with you, I didn't really think of it from. I'm one of those people where I'm looking for the beauty and the photo and the video opportunity. Obviously, I love history, but it's never really what I lead with. But this was like just insane because I've never done anything gold rush wise, and this is like the trains were the railroad was built. I think it was in 1898, and so there's a lot
Wow.
of history there. And what was really cool is this was the Klondike around the time the Klondike Gold Rush. So the
Hmm.
train itself, as you can imagine, is there's so much history there, both positive and negative. Obviously, the beauty is the positive, but a lot of negative. Like sadly, when these things are built, you learn a lot about
Hmm.
how the during the building process, a lot of people pass away during the building process, as you can imagine, because of the dangers of building in the climate and the area, the time of year, and all that stuff. So
Yes.
on the train ride, you learn all this history from the people there on the excursion, teaching you about the various, what do you call it? Well, there's like all these passes you go through, and they're like, oh, well,
Right.
this is called this, and there's one called Dead Horse Gulch, which is where a lot of the animals pass. So it's very sad, but the history is insane. While you're seeing all this vast beauty, while you're actually going through this, I think it was about a 2 hour train ride, because you stop at various areas and learn about the history of the areas. Yeah, it's very unique. But no, I would definitely highly recommend it. I booked it through Holland America, so I can't really talk about third party pricing or anything like that, but it was fairly
Hmm.
priced for what you get out of it. So it was actually a really cool experience.
Wow, it sound. I mean, well, first of all, from what I saw of Alaska, what, 15 years ago,
Oh, wow, yeah.
just having to live there is a testament to humanity's determination
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
conquer nature,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And some of these things, these passes, these destinations, I can only imagine could not be easily uh, accessed if it weren't for this railroad.
Right.
All
Well,
right?
and that's why, like, like I said, sadly, the I'm going to get the name wrong again, but the Dead Horse Gulches, because the amount of supplies these animals were trekking up to get to the workers and stuff like that.
Hmm.
That's why it was. I don't remember how long they said it took to build the railroad, but you can imagine it took a long time. It's not something that happens in 1 year. You know what I mean? It's happening
Right.
over
Yeah.
many years, and yeah, it's crazy.
Absolutely. Well, along with this, folks, if you want to learn more about Alaska, we've Joe and I both have written a lot of articles
Mm.
about this upcoming season on
Yep.
CruiseNews.com. Say, for instance, did you know, Joe, that here I've written this down. MSC
Hmm.
is one of the cruise lines going to Alaska this summer, and on MSC Poesia,
Hmm.
they're going to debut Dirty Dancing in concert on board. Imagine Dirty Dancing, the movie.
Yeah.
The sole concept is they are playing the movie on stage behind, and then there are actors and dancers that perform the dances in front of the movie.
That's
I've never
interesting.
experienced this,
Yeah.
but I almost, yeah, and I did have to ask some people, and the only closest thing I can actually relate it to
Hmm.
is the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh yeah. Okay. I was
You
like,
know,
that's what I was trying to
think of
think. I
it
was like,
like
why do
that.
I know this
Hmm.
concept? Like, where have I seen it potentially before? Not live, but I've heard of it. That's really cool.
Right, right. So that's, I think, that's a really interesting and unique experience to
Yeah.
have in Alaska, on top of Disney, on top of Hal, on top of Princess. So, and also another, sorry, just spitting out
No, I
factoids
love
here.
that.
Celebrity Summit
Uh-huh.
just came out of dry dock, did a short, did a short Asia season,
Uh-huh.
and now has crossed the Pacific and is doing her first Alaska season after a ship about a stern refurbishment.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's
awesome.
really interesting. Yeah.
Actually, I
So,
just saw something. I know you posted this recently. I was just looking at the website. You don't have to go too much into details because you can go to cruisenews.com and read this, but Harry just wrote about the new Juneau cruise dock that got approved. Now,
yes.
obviously they're all concept sketches right now. I was looking at your article today, and I was really interested in that because basically what they're trying to do is there's a lot of ships that can't get in there
Hmm.
because of, I guess it's sizing and also maybe just overflow, too many ships. So it's interesting
Yes.
that they're building this new dock. And do you know the date on that? When it's probably not for a
Not this
while, huh?
year, 2027 actually.
Well,
So
that's
it should be
impressive.
ready by next year, is what they're saying. This is actually being developed by the same people who brought us Icy Strait Point.
Oh, nice.
And I don't know if you called, I think everyone calls it Juno. I don't know if you recall calling it Juno, but 14 years ago, 14 years ago, when I called in Juno, I remember that we docked, and this was on, what is that, Radiance of the Seas.
Hmm.
And we walked off onto a wooden dock, literally, and once we got off the dock, it was the main street.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? And so what these guys are doing, they are they're building a whole welcome center and additional docks where more ships can offer their guests direct access into Juneau. I mean, Juneau was really fun. I remember
Yeah.
going to a cannery,
Yeah.
look and all that. Well, it's all fish to me. I was just
Yeah.
eating my way through Alaska.
There's salmon bakes and yeah, like, yeah.
Yes.
No, that's actually really cool. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm trying to remember my last, it was 2 years ago when I was in Juneau. But what you're describing is a common, what I used to hear people when they would sail to Alaska, they would have that common experience. And Juneau is a really cool destination. It's all touristy now. It really is, but it's not a bad, that's not a bad that's not a
Right.
bad label. I just want people to know when a lot of times they hear that, like, well, I want to avoid that. I'm like, well, no, you should go. It's quite something to see.
Touristy has had a bad,
Yeah.
sort of like a, yeah, it's got a bad reputation.
Yeah.
I do like how the Alaskans and, I think a lot of the Caribbean folks are doing this too, where they are focusing on cultural experiences. It's
Yeah.
not just the, hey, let's go to the beach or let's go. I don't even know if there's any sort of like, you know, excursions in Alaska that's like similar to, or as common as going to the beach.
Yeah.
Alaska's all about culture, showing folks how they live, how they survive, how they endure,
Yeah.
really.
So the last thing I want to actually ask, and only because you just wrote that article and it might be fresh in your
Yeah,
brain. I always,
yeah.
we talk about all the time. We're not experts in everything. We do our best. So maybe you don't know this answer, but I heard pretty recently that Alaska, specifically Juneau, capped the I think it was daily visitors. Let me double check my notes, to 16,000. Yeah, per day, and then 12,000 on
16,000.
Saturdays. So let me ask you this. I wonder
Yeah.
if the new dock will change that. Maybe the whole reason they were doing that was because they were limited to the amount of visitors they
Right.
actually could have.
Hmm.
Did you, when you wrote that article, did you come across anything?
I don't know that specifically. I'm not certain they addressed that directly,
Okay.
but they did say that um, during port days, when the
Hmm.
cruise ships come in, there's really limited docking, and
Right.
limited piers. So actually, some of the cruise ships have to have to stay off in the water and
Hmm.
tender in
Tender in.
their passengers.
Yeah.
And I mean, here's the thing: Alaska is a Alaska is a bucket list destination. You have a
Yeah.
lot of folks who are a little older, need a little bit more help to get on and off. And
Yeah.
if you're tendering,
Yeah.
that's a real big pain for those guests. And I think those guests are significant over in Alaska,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That I didn't even think about that actually. You're right, because there's a lot of families that go on Alaska trips, and I'm fortunate I can walk, nothing, I don't need a wheelchair or anything like that, but that's got to be rough for those guests because they're not going to, a lot of them are probably going to say, no, I'm not tendering. I'm not doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And these are huge ships. You say, what is that, 16,000?
Hmm.
I could potentially see that maybe
Yeah.
at least 5 ships, right?
Yeah.
Ranging from 2,000 to 4,000 people, and that's the big ships. The
Yeah.
small ships could probably get away with docking at a smaller pier or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
that's interesting. I didn't
so
really think of it that way.
there's so many interesting logistics. I mean, I can only imagine when I worked at the cruise lines. There was a lot of aha moments where like, oh, we didn't think about that until this huge flurry of complaints come in. So
Right.
yeah, absolutely. But here's the other thing, Joe. I think you and we've been talking. I think we talked about in the last podcast. We talked about in the podcast before about the costs of cruising these days,
Mm. Hmm.
right? And you had shared with me a Reddit article
Yeah.
about fuel supplements.
Hmm.
FS, fuel supplements, is an F phrase
Yeah.
when it
Yeah.
comes to traveling, right?
Yeah.
Um, Tell me a little bit more about this, because I only saw the headline,
Yeah.
but I thought it was very, very
So I pulled it
important.
up because
This might.
I don't want to talk out of turn, and I'm just going to skim it as we talk. But basically, the Reddit, a gentleman by the name of Bleeb 2000, that's his name on the subreddit Cruises. He basically was saying, he was asking the subreddit, hey, has anyone read the actual like fine print to these surcharges on these cruise lines? And what he did was he actually did
Yeah.
his due diligence and actually went into two brands specifically. He went to Norwegian and Royal Caribbean, and
Yes.
basically in their fine print contracts, just so you know, if to what I'm referencing, when you sign, when you buy into a cruise, you buy into an itinerary, you're buying into, the cruise contract of the brand. And a lot of times, let's be honest, we don't really read the fine print. You just hope for the best, and 99% of the time things go well. But specifically in these cruise contracts, they're saying that they have the right to charge up to, it varies on the cruise line, but up to $10 per passenger per day as a premium for fuel surcharges. So that may not sound like a lot to some, but if you do the math, let's say you have a family of four, that's $40 a day. And that's on the low end. I think it could go higher than that. That's $40 a day. Let's say a 5-night cruise. Oof. I mean, that's a lot of money that you went
Right.
into a cruise you thought you paid for. So it's kind of like a hidden cost that they like to say
Right.
is not going to happen, right? They like to say, oh, this doesn't happen, but they do have the right. They reserve the right because you click that box saying, I approve this contract. So that's definitely
Wow.
something. Yeah.
So I just did a little quick calculation.
Yeah.
Say, if we're looking at approximately $10 a day times a family of four, because you want to bring the whole clan along,
Yeah.
times 7 average days
Right.
for an Alaska cruise. Some of them go to 14.
Yep.
So you're looking, just for $10 4 people, 7 nights, $280 additional.
Yeah.
$280, $300 more.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at maybe $6,000 or so
Yeah.
for an Alaska cruise. And let me take that back because I don't know that. That's my internal
No,
thing, but it's not necessarily correct.
you're not wrong. It's close to that. Yeah.
Times an additional, what, 15%, 17%, 18% per person per day on gratuities. Shore
Yeah.
excursions are not cheap in Alaska. It's
Yep.
American living standards.
Yep.
This is just adds up and adds up.
Yeah.
And, here's the thing. How on this side of the world is also so impacted
Yeah.
by what's going on the other side of the world, right?
Yeah.
We touched on this before, where the Strait of Hormuz
Mm-hmm.
pretty much counts about 20% of marine fuel and LNG.
Mm-hmm.
And gosh, what is this? You said the kick-in rate is what, $60 a barrel, $65 a
Yeah.
barrel?
What was it on the thing? Fuel increase above $65 per barrel is when that's when it like triggers that they don't,
Yeah.
when they say, sorry, let me rephrase that. When they say triggers, that means that they have the option to say, we're going to do that surcharge. That doesn't mean they're going to, and they like to play off and I say they as in the cruise lines, they like to play off like,
Right.
oh, that's just in our notes or our contracts that we might do it. But see, that's the thing, is the guy on Reddit was basically saying, I'm worried. He's like, because I've already paid so much for this cruise and I know there's going to be additional charges. I can't have an additional charge on that. And I feel his pain because that's got to be scared going in, like
Absolutely.
rolling the dice.
Well, I just pulled up what Brent crude is right now. As of today, when we're recording this, it is $100 a barrel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's
So it's
$100 a barrel.
$35 more than the triggered price.
Right.
Yeah.
And part of this is that I think the cruise lines, some of the cruise companies are able to, let's say, absorb some of these costs because of fuel hedging. Back in 2008, 2009, we experienced this also.
Yeah.
And gosh, well, and it was actually quite an issue. Um, just to throw a couple more facts out there, because I
Yeah.
love facts,
Yeah.
Royal Caribbean says that they hedge up to 60% of their fuel.
Yeah.
NCL said they hedge up to 50%. Carnival says they don't substantively hedge at all.
Interesting.
So, right. So you're thinking about this, that, some of the fuel costs are now blending in with that hedging
Yeah.
so that, they're paying less, but that less is starting to grow and grow and grow
Yeah.
by the ton that they pump into their ships.
Yep.
And I don't know, depending on how long this thing goes,
Yeah.
they may not be able to hold back this fuel supplement, in order for them to really stay in business and still deliver an experience that's acceptable for travelers going onto their ships,
Yeah.
you know?
It's funny because I can't speak, they've got to please investors. They have to please the people. They have to please the board, all that, all the business stuff that we don't really like to talk about. But unfortunately, it's kind of important what's going on right now. Because this
Right.
affects me and you too. I mean, listen, I love cruising, not just because I do it for work, but even now I'm like looking at some prices and I'm like, dang, like this is going to be tough. You know what I mean? Like it's tough to like, to decide. And this also goes hand in hand with flights, right? Like, let's be honest, this affects everything. Cause like
Yes.
I was looking at some
Yes, you're
flights
right.
recently just to see if I could hop on a plane to Miami, see you, jump on, go to Sea Trade, go to like all the stuff we've been talking about lately. And I'm
Yes.
like, dang, like I just can't justify in this moment. I'd rather keep trying to produce content from home for now, even though I want to get on a cruise ship and produce content there, so it's like a balancing act, so.
You're absolutely right. I think probably a little more than a month ago, Joe,
Yeah.
I, you and I both were like, screw it. I'll hop on the plane right now, tomorrow.
Yeah.
A $200, $300 flight. We'll get together. We can be in person, create some content. Do this live. Does feel a little COVID-ish, my friend.
It does. Hey, you know what? Someone had to say it because I was saying the same thing because I'm like thinking to myself, geez, I guess doing the podcast might actually be fruitful because we're actually gonna have stuff to create. You know what I mean? Like I love doing it in
Right.
general and I want to do it in person, but I'm like, well, this might be because I remember during COVID, I was doing live streaming and all this. You know what I mean? You
Yes.
figure out what else to do, how to create your content. So
There's more than one way to keep us socially distant.
right,
One
right,
of those ways is transportation,
yeah,
unfortunately. Oh, it's terrible.
it's
Yeah,
terrible.
because I have dreams of us setting up on the little island by the water, bring a little folding desk,
Yeah,
set up a camera, and then we will have the Port of Miami in the background as we do this.
that
You
would be
know? I think
that
that,
actually be really cool.
right?
So
Or
actually,
actually, yeah, go
no,
ahead.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. I can remember.
Well, I was gonna make a joke because there's a wonderful place called Smith Wolenski, and we could actually have have a slab of steak and a bottle of Chardonnay as the
Nice.
cruise ships sail right behind us. I'm so sorry. So go ahead.
I like that a lot. So let me actually ask you something. It's something I don't think we even addressed. But I read the headline and I did a little research to make sure it was not just a headline, it was actually covered. But something along the lines of I heard $80 billion is going to be pumped into, when I say pumped into, a more or less like being produced for new ships. And this is collectively. This isn't just ocean, river, it's everything. Small ships, everything into the cruise industry by, let's say, about a decade from now. So that's how much money is being looked at investing in new ships and stuff like that. Let me ask you something from someone like you who, you didn't necessarily work for, you weren't in Royal Caribbean during COVID. Like you've kind of been moving and shaking on different cruise lines over the years in the corporate side.
Yes.
What do you think after us just discussing how flights and the fuel surcharges and all this stuff's happening? What do you think about $80 billion being put into the cruise industry? Do you think that's a scary
Is that
thing?
for new builds, you're
Yeah,
saying?
new builds. That's what I read. I'm going to do further research on it, but this is what I was reading, and this was all the cruise lines. I'm sure they're putting pauses here and there, but that's a lot of money.
Right. Well, for 10 years, let's see, it's 2026. I'm
Hmm.
talking and thinking out loud here.
Yeah.
2026 plus 10, 20, 36, 30. Oh, gosh. I think there is a zero emissions goal by all the major cruise lines by like 2040. And so I think a lot of the cruise lines have been building ships that can accommodate dual fuel,
Okay.
actually marine grade fuel and also LNG. There's only 17 LNG ships out there, I think, right now, and they're
Wow.
mostly Carnival. So,
Yeah.
that sort of balances out a little bit of where
Yeah.
they're not hedging,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
But gosh, I can see that. I mean, say an Oasis class is somewhere between 1.5 to $2 billion.
Okay. See, that's
That
what I needed to
kind of starts
hear.
adding up.
No, that's what I
Yeah.
needed to hear though, because then it allows me to break down a little bit of like, okay, that's the
Hmm.
Oasis class. Those are the big, big, big ships. So maybe if we broke
The
it down,
biggest,
and
yeah.
I'm totally talking out loud, just like you were, maybe the smaller ships, let's say like the new Four Seasons yacht. Not that, I mean, that's already been produced, but I'm saying things
Right.
like that. Maybe those are like 800 million. You know what I mean? Or, I'm just giving you like,
Yes.
so it's not the Oasis
Absolutely.
class size vessels, these mega ships, but it's
Hmm.
maybe it's 800 million for an expedition ship. I don't know. Or maybe 1 billion,
Well,
whatever.
but here's the thing. You and I, we're here over in the United States, North America,
Yeah.
and what we've been focusing on really has been cruise lines that have been catering to North Americans.
Right.
Maybe one day when we get bigger, we may expand our staff, we'll expand our scope.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and tangentially, we have also seen um, international cruise lines, say for instance, that's owned or operated or partnered with our three US major brands, Carnival, Norwegian,
Yeah.
Royal.
Right.
But, here's the thing. I have not really been keeping an eye on Asia.
Oh, okay.
There
Yeah.
are some there's some movers and shakers in cruise in Asia. I'm not just talking about China, and I'm not
Yeah.
just talking about Japan.
Yeah.
We're talking about India is has gotten into this. I think there is one, shoot, I can't remember the brand. I think they have a ship out already, and they're expecting to launch more ships.
Nice.
And also, along that same line, you mentioned Four Seasons yachts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Four Seasons yachts, they're looking to introduce two more ships on top of this
Yeah.
latest one that
Yeah.
they have introduced. But you're looking at, I wrote another article last week
Yeah.
about a brand new cruise line um, that is actually starting, Vedanta World,
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
all-inclusive Mexican luxury. They're also starting in the Mediterranean. Let me see, what is this? And Four Seasons Yachts. Orient Express is also another luxury
Yep.
yacht experience
Yep.
that is starting in the Mediterranean this year. Ritz-Carlton, been around for a couple of years now.
Yep.
They've got three ships, I
Beautiful
think.
looking ship
Uh,
in person too.
right?
Mm.
And I don't know if you've been looking at Amman. I mean, all
Oh
of these
yeah.
hotel and hospitality, hotel resort brands are trying to, get a piece of this cruising action.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to take their experience and replicate it on board, where they don't have resorts. They can bring guests to them still and have a floating
Which
resort.
what better than a hospitality brand, like a hotel brand, like a Ritz Carlton or even Four Seasons, and then Oman, like they do it so well. That's why people become loyal fans, go into their hotels, and every time I go to like a Four Seasons, I expect quality, and it's always that. You know what I
Over
mean?
delivered, yes.
Over delivered. Yeah, the staff, the food, the rooms, everything is just perfect, and I can only imagine it'll be pricey, but the cruise ship experience is going to be awesome.
Here is to one day at least. Four Seasons, Amman, please, Ritz
Are you
Carlton.
listening, Four Seasons? We have a cruisenews.com summit we need to be
Oh my
hosted.
goodness. The Cruise News Cruise. This is what I'm saying. I think I've said this every podcast,
Hey,
Joe. I'm sorry.
speak it into existence, my friend. Let's do it.
Yes.
I did want to
Putting it
go
out
full
there.
circle, not
Yes.
to beat down this sad world we're in with the prices and all that stuff, but I did want to maybe give a hopeful moment. And it's about the Viking. Got to give a shout out to Viking Cruises because they have a ship coming out in November. I got to look at my notes because I don't want to butcher anything, but it's called the Viking Libra. I think its date is supposed to be sometime in November 2026. Um, and the reason why this is such a breakthrough ship, it's going to be the first ever hydrogen powered cruise ship. It is, I think it's 900 guests. Like I said, I got so many notes and I don't want to like butcher anything, but I definitely, something I want to cover on cruisenews.com very soon. So you can keep an eye out for that. But I just wanted to touch on that with all the stuff we've been talking about is because
Yeah.
why is this important? We're talking about $80 billion being invested. And you know what? I'm sure if I dig deeper, we can probably find out that of that $80 billion, and this is me talking out loud, no facts here, that $80 billion could be going towards, many of it could be going towards hydrogen powered ships. And this would be huge for
Yes.
future fuel issues. Surcharges might not be a thing in the future because
Hmm.
of the technology that's being produced for these hydrogen.
Yes.
It's all new technology. And what's cool is they're actually collaborating. Viking collaborated with, I'm always butchering the name. Let me get it really quick. What's the
Yeah.
famous builder? You know what I'm talking about.
Meyerwerft.
No,
Meyerwerft,
that's one of them.
Fincantieri.
Yes, that one. What was the second one you said?
Fincantieri,
Yes,
the Italian shipbuilders.
yes,
Yes.
they collaborated with them, and they also collaborated with I think it was a company out of Sweden to work on the hydrogen cells. So, like I said, I'm not an expert in this stuff. I'm just telling you what I'm reading, and I'm very excited about because as someone who's cares about the environment and looking at the technology, being a tech nerd. We talked about how when we were on the Royal Caribbean together, my first time I met you, I was there for the tech, the robot bartenders
Yes.
and stuff like that. I just
Yeah.
love that stuff. So I'm excited because I'm hoping that of that $80 billion we discussed earlier, a lot of it's going to this technology. I really hope so. And whether it's bettering the technology or getting it on these ships, because of there's going to be these standards soon. You can't sail to these destinations if you don't have the right technology. They're just going to say no. So I think cruise lines are in a
Yeah.
mad dash to get ahead of that.
You're right on so many levels, Joe, and we should disagree more often, but create a little more drama in this little podcast. But you're right. Here's the thing. Hydrogen, as you mentioned, is so clean, but it's renewable.
Yeah. Yeah.
The overwhelming majority of the cost for cruise lines
Mm-hmm.
is fuel.
Mm-hmm.
LNG is cheap, it was cheap. A marine grade fuel was cheap. And you see these cruise lines really recognize that that is a big chunk of their costs. And I really feel like the cruise industry has been one of the innovators, not creating the technology or the energy system, but to adopt. One of the earliest adopters. You saw that with LNG. I think they were using methane at one time or something.
Wow.
At one time, nuclear could have been considered. Yeah, because, what if you just completely cut that cost out and then all of a sudden, they may lower the prices, but, they may increase their profits, but it'll also maybe hopefully decrease the price for us travelers.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm going to say this. Maybe this is the most common sense thing that anyone would want to hear because cruise lines probably won't do it. I think the first cruise line that can find a way to really really nail down their point system, their loyalty system, but also give back. I know they do this stock thing like, oh yeah, you buy, I think if you own cruise line and or Carnival Cruise and you get a discount, like I know they all do that stuff, but in the end I do feel like the nickel and diming catches up to you. So it's like a kind of like a facade sort of, and I hope that one cruise line
Right.
can really lead the way in giving back to their guests to a manner that other cruise lines have to do it too. Do you know what I mean? Like they have to kind of catch up with them. So
Right.
if they do this hydrogen and they're able to save money and bring profits even more, I hope that they give it back as much as possible because I do think the cruise
Right.
industry is thriving. Every day I get new people in my life that say like, you know what, Joe, you talk about cruising all the time. Where should I go? What should I cruise on? And they want to try it, and or
Hmm.
go on another one, that they haven't been on because they haven't been on 10 years, so
And I think maybe you touched on it. You touched on it. I think the whole world, because it involves destinations, because it's traveling around the world, because you have other countries interested in bringing cruise passengers to their country.
yeah.
I think that, there is less of a competitive as much as there's a cooperative
Hmm.
kind of thing. A lot of you hear that thing. High. What is that? High tide raises all ships or something or
Yeah,
other.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
what's good for cruising around on the other side of the world
Yeah,
is hopefully bound to be good for cruising on this side of the world eventually.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's the
So
kind of stuff I
hopefully,
look forward to. Truly, like that is what I look forward
yeah.
to in this world, specifically this industry. Is like I just want to see the improvements, how it's going to benefit
Hmm.
the customer, even the cruise line. I want them to succeed too. Otherwise, we're not going to get new cool ships and experiences and stuff like that. So, yeah,
Absolutely. And I actually, before we hopped on, I published another article this morning about Dominica, um, announcing that they have three different new sustainable cultural shore excursions that they're introducing immediately. So, these are things where as you're saying, one destination does one thing, and encourages another destination to, up their game, so to say.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. No,
All right.
100%.
All right. So that's pretty cool. Of course, folks out there breaking a third wall or fourth wall or fifth wall, whichever wall that is, uh, or maybe if you're in a yurt breaking through the leather wall. Uh, Joe and I, we do have some talking points before we get into these things. Um, what is this MSC Eurybia remains stuck in the Gulf? Before we get off
Yeah,
of the fuel conversation, and I feel like fuel is going to be a conversation we have every conversation,
it is what it is. Yeah.
right?
But
What is this?
so
Mhm.
honestly, I just wanted to touch on that because I just wanted to the gravity of okay. So this there's a two-parter here. We talk about the Reddit because like I said, I love going to the subreddit and answering questions for people and just great questions in there, great content. And one of the things I saw was someone was saying how they want to book a trip in the Middle East with Celestial Cruises, and I immediately was like, are you serious? So then I actually had to bring up because I had to do a little research because I want to get my facts straight. And yes, as you said, the MSC Uriba, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, is stuck in the Gulf due to the Middle East tensions. And
On the
obviously,
wrong side, stuck on the wrong side of the Gulf.
right,
Wow.
right. And you got to look at it this way. It's like, this isn't even about, I mean, obviously safety first, right? But this is like a wake up, wake up call. It's like, guys, like maybe take a pause and looking for those, those specific itineraries right now because there's serious things happening. People are having to get refunded for this or their bookings completely canceled. And I got to be honest, this is no shade to MSC or not because I actually don't know the facts, but usually if you don't have travel insurance, well, guess what? We talked about this on the last cruise. You may be out of luck. They might give you a credit. It may not be a full credit. It may be something you can't redeem for a while because maybe they have to. I don't know. I don't know the MSC fine print. I'm just saying these are the realities of war in the Middle East right now and how that could be affecting your trip. And it's good.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean that's really interesting. So, yeah, and you and I both have to research this. I got
Yeah.
to tell you, insurance is probably the last thing on my list of interests,
Sure.
but it's probably the most important thing on our on travelers' list to consider.
Yeah.
Um, you know, we're seeing some of these. Well, you're seeing some of these social comments about being stranded or itinerary changed, bookings canceled. Even though we're not specialists on this,
Mm.
let's talk about insurance.
Sure. Sure. I mean,
So what is?
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, no, I was going to ask you, like, what have you read about this? I think there were some examples.
Well, so for me, I mean, I know that when your trip gets canceled, right? I mean, the first thing that's going to happen is if the company is the cruise line specifically is doing any type of due diligence to keep their loyalty or to keep your loyalty, they're going to give you something. They're going to credit you,
Hmm.
and a lot of times they'll give you a little bit more. But I don't want to ever guarantee that. If you're already worried about potentially something happening, whether you miss your flight or something like that, I would 110% get travel insurance. And a lot of times it's actually not that expensive. But to your point, Harry, I'm like you. That's not the thing I usually think of. I booked my trip. I'm like going, and honestly, I roll the dice a lot. I'm full transparency, but I've accepted that. I hope
Me
it
too.
never happens where I get screwed over. And I could say, I've been fairly lucky with all my journeys. I've done a ton of cruises, a ton of travel in my life, and I've been very fortunate, knock on wood. But no, I mean, but something like that, something specifically happening right now overseas, I would 110%, even if you're just going to the Med, like travel insurance, just to back yourself up. You know what I mean? You just don't know what's going to happen.
You don't have to go as far as the Med in order to really be, what is this, blindsided if you don't have travel insurance. What is this? There's a Bermuda to Canada
Oh, yes. I'm
reroute.
so glad you brought this up. Yes. Okay, so
Yes.
this is more lighthearted fun, especially because you got to go look up this TikTok. I forget the name of the username, but I guarantee if you type in Bermuda, Canada, Virgin Voyages, you'll find this. So let me quickly explain. So this
Okay.
couple was the girl of the couple. So it was they were going on a Bermuda trip and leaving out of New York, which is one of the most common areas to go to Bermuda. I think it's out of New York.
Right.
They were going on Virgin Voyages, and they were going with their parents. First time Virgin Voyages. They were excited about it, but it was the first time their parents' anniversary. So it was her parents. And anyways, so the part I didn't tell you before chatting about this, they sent their
Yes.
luggage. They sent their luggage along with their parents because their parents were going to New York
Oh,
early, and they were like, "Hey, would you mind taking our luggage along?" So now, as you can imagine, they're going to Bermuda, right? So they packed bikinis and swim trunks and all this, light. I
hmm,
mean, like stuff like this, very light clothing because they're going to be in this beautiful, beaches and stuff like that. Well, on the
right.
way to the airport, Virgin Voyages sent them a message, email, a very fun email. Because if you know Virgin Voyages, they love saying like "ahoy sailor" and all these fun. They're not very corporate. They're very fun. It's almost like your
Right.
buddy messaging you.
They're
And
anti-corporate, really.
they
Yeah.
really are. Yeah, Richard Branson's very anti-corporate. So, anyways, the email was basically, "Hey, Ohe sailors, sorry to tell you this, but we have a change of itinerary. So instead of Bermuda, we're going to Canada." You could imagine their
Wow.
surprise. They thought they were having this warm weather, beaches, vacation,
Right.
and they packed for that, and now they're going to Canada. And even in the email it says, "make sure you pack layers." And they were like, "well, we already packed, we already sent off our stuff." So yeah, this is the kind of stuff that happens, and to Virgin Voyages, it's not their fault. It's the weather. They were literally worried about the weather, and they were trying to make safety first. And
Hmm.
now they're going to Canada because that's where they're rerouting them, and that's the best they could do. So
That is very interesting. Yeah.
yeah, but it's
Go ahead.
stuff
Sorry.
like that. No, it's stuff like that. Like you can't really predict what's going to happen. Now, I don't know, full transparency. I don't know if travel insurance, going full circle with that, would cover that because yes, you booked a Bermuda trip, but it's not like you're not getting your vacation. So let me ask you this from a corporate standpoint. I always rely on you for
Yeah.
this.
Hey,
Would
this is why we get along so well.
would would that be valid for a travel insurance coverage? I mean, I know that's not your forte, but how do you see that when you worked for Royal? Would Royal, how would they cover that? Because that is a drastic change, right? Going from Bermuda to Canada, right? I mean, so what do you foresee
Yeah.
happening there from a corporate standpoint or travel insurance?
So to give you a sense of what I was responsible for, I used to write those letters
Yeah.
to tell the guests, hey, so sorry, due to this safety concern or due to that weather concern
Yeah.
or due to this port, being not available, we're going to have to replace this one port with another.
Yeah.
In my entire experience, it's been port changes in the same region.
Right.
And I cannot imagine. I mean, it's sort of like, hey, we're doing a Mexican Riviera cruise. You got your bikinis and your swim trunks.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Stuff's happening in Mexico. We can't go to Mexico.
Right.
We're going to Alaska.
Yeah. Right.
That's a nice change,
Yeah.
but a completely different experience. So yeah, I got to tell you, it is beyond my experience. I have no idea what this could be. We might have to look up Allianz or something and see like
Let's
what
do,
are
yeah.
the valid points.
Keep an eye out. Maybe
You know?
I'll turn this to an article, but definitely maybe if we between our next podcast, we'll both look
Yeah.
into it because no, this is the kind of stuff I love talking about because I'm just like, Man, I don't know how I'd feel about that. As a content creator, I kind of love it, even though I love warm weather. I love a beach. But I'm not gonna lie, as a content creator, this would be like that'd be like a golden ticket to content, right? I'd be like, oh well,
Right.
guys, I'm going to Canada. I guess I'm going to shopping in Canada. Let's do a vlog about it. It'd be funny.
Hmm.
But from a vacation standpoint, oh, that has got to be the worst ever.
You make another great point, Joe. I gotta say, here's the thing. I mean, Bermuda tends to be the short cruise from New York.
Yeah.
Bermuda has, let's say a limited experience. It's very water-based,
Mm-hmm.
and they have amazing rum. Um, but these folks, I mean, I guess could they if they're an American Express Platinum or any of these things where they are covered for additional clothing or sundries or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But you touched on an interesting point. I mean, going to New England and Canada does seem to offer these folks a more interesting and varied experience.
Yeah. If they're open minded,
You
they could
know?
have a great time. Because first off, I love Virgin Voyages personally. I love their ships. So the ship itself, they're going to be fine, whether they're in a warm or cold climate. Like, shout out Virgin just went to Alaska for the first time this season. So that's
Right.
new for Virgin travelers. If you're a Virgin Voyages fan, you're going to Alaska. So different weather, right? But yeah, they were looking forward to the beaches. But for me, I'm so open minded. I mean, like I said, I do this for a living, so I'd be like, this is a content
Mhm.
dream. But I understand because even in their video, they basically were like, we were expecting beaches, we were expecting snorkeling. You know what I mean? So they're not getting that in Canada. They're not where they're going.
Mhm.
So I don't
Well,
know.
I don't know if they're going to get that in Bermuda either. Bermuda
Oh, true.
waters are actually pretty choppy.
True, true. Which, by the way,
People,
that's why they got canceled.
right.
They're already choppy, but they was going to be really choppy. Like they were really anticipating something bad. Which safety first. Either cancel your trip, or you know what I mean. Like that's what I'm wondering. So
I gotta imagine Virgin might allow them to rebook or something without penalty.
I,
That is a huge change in
yeah,
the product that was originally promised. I think personally,
yeah,
I would ask for a change if I were traveling with other people who had
I
expectations.
would
You
have,
and I, we're just happy being on the ship,
yeah,
wherever it is.
I would have done. No, but I fully agree with you. I would have done the same.
Hmm.
This,
Yeah,
if you don't mind me leading to the next topic, this is kind of all
go
relatable
ahead.
because once again, I keep mentioning like I'm a content creator, but I actually wanted to touch on something really funny and get away from all this heavy, sad talk from the fuel charges to the war to missing your Bermuda trip. One of the things I wanted to talk about. So there was a viral, leave it to AI. People are messing with AI, making stuff that kind of like faux meme content. So for example, this is what it was. Someone made this like fake Fox News post about how a guy got fired from his job because he was caught being a digital nomad on a cruise ship. And even though it was fake, it brought up a lot of interesting conversations I wanted to touch on because I've been nomadic,
Yeah.
self-employed from a computer for 15 plus years now. And I just wanted to touch on something before I went nomadic, before when I lived in LA and I worked at a marketing agency for film, you know, one of the reasons it was the best job to have before going full time with Joe's Daily and then later CruiseNews.com was my boss, Mike. Shout out to Mike Tinkle. He probably won't watch this, but shout out to this guy. He was one of,
Mike,
what's that?
watch this. Mike, pay attention.
He was really great because he was the first boss I've ever had in my life that allowed me to do whatever I wanted as long as now I did work in the office, but he's like, listen, I'm not going to watch over your shoulder. If you get your job done, leave whenever you want. He was the first boss to ever, in a salary job, to ever just be like, you did your job. You can leave now. And the reason I love this idea was
Hmm.
because in this fake AI, this nomad got fired for working on a cruise ship, it made me think, we're all adults. If your job is your job and you get your job done, who cares if you're doing it from a cafe in Thailand or you're doing it on a cruise ship with good Wi-Fi? And the reason I bring that up is because God, Wi-Fi has gotten so good. And sure, you got to pay for the
Yes.
premium, but even Virgin Voyages at the bare minimum gives you free Wi-Fi, and a lot of cruise lines are doing that now. I mean, crap, even Delta gives free. I think a lot of the new flights give you free free Wi-Fi on board.
Right. In exchange for your email, which is fine. I'm very happy to give my email
Yeah.
away for a free Wi-Fi service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I just love this concept of like, hey, if you get your job done, who cares where you're doing it? It's a responsibility thing. And you know what? If you don't get your job done, then get in trouble, maybe get fired. But that's the thing is, I know this was all an AI thing, but it brought up a lot of serious conversation in the comments of what I saw the post was people are like, who cares if you get your job done where you do it from? And then other people are like, you could tell there were managers who are like, well, no, I would fire the guy on the spot. You got this 50-50 of like response. And I wanted to
Yes.
ask you, if you hired someone.
Oh, put me on the spot
No,
on
no,
this one.
but I want to hear both sides. Like, how do you think about that? Are you one of those people where it's like, hey, you got your job done, you did a good job, I hired you because you're good at your job. I don't care where you do it. What are your thoughts on that?
You know what, Joe? Put me on the spot. I'll probably get a lot of hate mail. I'll probably get canceled by your generation and by the Gen Zers. Um, so here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been both. I've been, frontline grunt, and I've also been a manager.
Yeah,
So, on one side, yes, I completely agree. You hired me to do a job. I did that job. And once I do that job, I think I should be able to sit back and, pursue other interests, let's say.
sure.
However, as a manager, my duty is to maximize your 8 hours, online or maximize your 8 hours in the office,
That's fair.
right?
Yeah,
And so, sure, you could be doing more. And I think really I don't have any particular opinion about this because it's depending on the person.
yeah,
Because, I think some managers are thinking, oh, you're going to rush through it and the quality is going to suffer.
sure.
But then, of course, like, Joe, you and I, we've worked together in so many different capacities through the years.
Yeah,
And I know that whatever you send me, just, folks, true confessions, I've employed Joe. I've employed
yeah,
Joe, on occasion here and there. But there are folks like Joe who are dedicated, who really see everything you create as a reflection of yourself,
sure. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
As a reflection of your pride, as a reflection of what you do. They say, you are your work. But Joe, to an extent, you are what you do,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so whenever I work with Joe, whenever he kicks back the whatever product that he's creating for me, I have no complaints. In fact, I'm impressed. I'll be like, thank you so much, Joe. This is freaking awesome. I didn't think that we could think this way.
Next time you type me a message, I'm going to assume you're typing like that. Well, hey, let me give you some credit here because I actually agree with you, and I'm one of those people. I'm like I got the devil and the angel on my shoulder. I'm like the devil saying like, screw that. Like if I did my job right, like just like I said, right. But then also on the other side, I definitely get what you're saying. So let me just not this isn't about agreeing or disagreeing with you on this, but let me just say this.
Disagree with me. Come
My
on.
job, the one I was referring to with Mike Tinkle, shout out Mike.
Hey, Mike.
My job was specifically, I had clients, right? I had movie clients. I worked on a Jack Black movie, but those were my
Nice.
clients. Here's what I'll say. Mike saw that someone else doing a job like me, let's say we were the same person, but doing different clients. He was like, why should I punish you, Joe, if so-and-so, I won't name their name because I actually have some names, but if they're just slower, and it's not because they're bad, they might even be better in some things, but basically he was like, if you're pleasing your client and she's pleasing her client, but she's just going slower, why should you not be able to go do your stuff? So I'll leave
You're saying
everyone with
the
this.
end result is the same, right?
Yeah.
You're saying the end result is the same.
And I guess
Interesting.
what I'm trying to say is my job might have been good for this test case of like what Mike was believing in. Like you did your good job, you do whatever you want, leave, go do your thing. To your point, I want to maximize your time. That job sounds like a job that's like, okay, you're not just doing one client. You work for this brand and there's no reason for you to, yes, you might have had duties that day, but you could do other duties. So I respect that and I actually understand that. Um, in the end, it depends on, is it hourly? Is it this? Is it that? You know what I mean? So I guess really it
Right.
matters in that, example. And I think what people need to realize, specifically with this fake AI example that I started this whole conversation with, is
Mm-hmm.
everyone's going to have opinions. Everyone's got this idea of how their job, but everyone doesn't realize their job is different, like dramatically different. So, like, obviously, you can't be a grocery store worker and being like, look, I packed up and I'm going to leave for the day. Well, you're not going to get paid because you're getting paid hourly. You're not salary. You know what I mean? So it's like, you're just not going to
Right,
get paid.
right.
You're okay. You're gone for the day. You work 2 hours. All right. Well, there's your minimum wage or whatever you're getting paid at that job. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So I
Absolutely.
just thought
Yeah,
it was funny hearing people's reaction to it,
yeah, I know. Oh gosh, I'm afraid to open up my email after this.
Right? Oh my God.
But good stuff. Wow, Joe, I think is our time up again? I feel like I could just talk again. This is how we always close. Joe, I think I can talk to you forever about cruising. And this is why we're doing it. Oh, little plug. Don't forget to follow us.
Yeah.
Cruise News 1, Cruise News X, YouTube, Instagram, and X. And we have several other platforms that we're going into.
Yeah.
But no matter what, please do visit cruisenews.com all the time, every
Absolutely.
day.
We are,
All
I mean,
right?
at the very least, we're trying to do once article per day. Sometimes it gets away from
Mm-hmm.
us with the holidays and stuff. But yeah, typically our team does articles a few times a week for sure, without a doubt. One of the things we want to do in this podcast is get some guests on, whether it's colleagues of ours or, you know, I'm just wishful thinking. We get people like captains on and industry leaders on and stuff like that, and just like other, maybe even other publications that are friends of ours, stuff like that. We'll get them on here, and they'll make it, a whole different type of podcast and thing like that. So I'm really excited that that's kind of the
Absolutely.
goal going forward. So
Good stuff. Good
cool.
stuff. Totally enjoying this. I feel like everyone is better than the previous one. Folks, if you heard the first podcast, after Joe wraps this all up and finalizes things, I sent it to my mom. So I'm really looking forward to getting my mom's feedback.
She's our number one critic, and I love her for it
She's
because every time I hear what
number
she has to
one
say, I'm
critic and
like,
fan.
yes, I agree.
Yes. Oh man. I hate it that she's still right all the time. Shut up,
So good.
please.
Well, as always,
Yeah.
Harry, I love talking to you, buddy, and hopefully I'll see you in Miami soon.
Actually, yes, Joe, see you soon. Let's hope that the world resolves itself quickly and we can all get back to normal.
Good way to end it. Thanks, buddy. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Joe.
Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.